Oh, man. All right. Well, we are technically going back. We're technically now on day 2. We're going to do our main bench day. So, a little change of plans. We're going to change blocks here a little bit. I know we switched gears kind of real quick there. But things have changed, plans have changed. So, I've decided that I'm going to compete in a meet in August. So right now we're currently about 131 days out. If I remember, what is it? We're just under 19 weeks out. So things are going to change up just a tiny little bit. Things are going to look a little different, which is great. I got my strength back to a pretty decent point to where I'm pretty comfortable and I'm pretty okay with the way things are moving for the most part. So had a main squat and a main deadlift day on Saturday, or Friday, sorry, and things went okay. I didn't end up posting it. I didn't think it went any type of way that I should have posted. So, but it kind of got in my head that like I hit a really good point. Now it's time to come back off a little bit, do some more volume, stuff like that. And then just because of the timing, by the time I could do a volume block, it would be time to prep anyways. So got a whole kind of a plan out here. So I got 5 blocks to do before this meet, 4 full blocks of 4 weeks, and then a smaller block, like a peaking block of like 3 weeks or whatever. We're just going to focus on singles and stuff like that. So we got a volume block, and the block after this is more geared towards volume as well. And we got pretty much 2 strength blocks and then a peaking block. So super excited about the new program. We're going to do this kind of a month-to-month basis, though. So what we're going to do is I wrote a rough draft of all of it on what training should look like over the next 5 months. And then we just did month 1. So we're going to adjust kind of week to week and month to month and go from there. So, yeah, today, like I said, we got main bench. We're doing 10s. So we got to warm up to a heavy set of 10, and we're going to warm up to something around RP 6, something like that. So let's just get into it. All right, I think we can go up a little higher than that. That's the one thing about volume blocks that can be real tough to gauge. It's definitely going to be like, how do you gauge, a set of 10 on bench at RP6? So I'm trying to shoot for like something I could do for 14 and hit it for 10. I feel like that's a hard line to get to. Now, it's a lot easier to do like 10 for like RP like 9. It's easier to shoot for that because I'm trying to get just right close to failure, 1 in the tank. But yeah, it's obviously a lot easier to do bench, 3 reps at RP 8. It's a lot easier to gauge there, but we're gonna try our best here. I assume a lot of this block is gonna be a lot of like undershooting and overshooting for the first 4 weeks. Because I got a lot of like 8s, 6s, and 10s and stuff like that planned. But yeah, I fully anticipate that I will overshoot 1 week, undershoot the next, overshoot, and then might get like 1 week good for each lift where I'm like, yep, that was the exact RP, whatever. I'm not really gonna obsess too much over that. With it being like 10s and stuff like that, I feel like the recovery for something like this is not too bad. So volume at the end of the day is not the worst thing in the world for me to recover from, especially on some of these lifts. Bench and squat I can recover very well from. So especially when it comes to some volume stuff, ain't the end of the world for me personally. All right. Whew. Well, what do we got? 205. All right. Well, I think early on, I spent my I spent my one time getting it right. All right, we're gonna do this. Take 10% off the bar. Go from there. So not too bad, not too shabby. We're gonna do a 3x10 at this weight, 185. That's pretty much it. So this is I feel like gonna be more boring than like the last block because this is gonna be a lot of repetitiveness. And I know I talked a lot about how I structure things, about being not having set dates and stuff like that, not having like squat on Monday and stuff like that. So I'm trying to still do something like similar to that, but it's really hard. It's kind of like, it's almost, I don't want to say it's impossible, but it's a lot harder when you're trying to do it, when you're trying to prep for a meet itself, or you're trying to give yourself more structure within the block. So what I did was I gave myself Saturday or Sunday off. So depending on what my schedule looks like and how I feel, I'm either gonna, my main lower, so my main squat and my main deadlift days are either gonna be Saturday or Sunday. Now I'm leaning more towards, I want to push more towards Sundays being the day, but if schedules with my wife and kids and or what I got going on does not help, or I can't help in those things, and so it makes me not be able to train. If we have something planned for Sunday, then my goal is to get in on Saturday and get a workout in. Also I give myself like Wednesdays off, so my intentions with that is if I can go Monday and Tuesday and be fine, but I know that Thursday I'm not gonna be able to work out, then I'll move it to Wednesday. If I know that Friday I can't move out, then maybe I'll push everything back up. If I know I can't work out Tuesday, then I'll take Tuesday off, Wednesday. That's kind of how I'm gonna play it. So I'm still trying to give myself the flexibility of that, because I really did like that. I liked having kind of like an unset structure. Whew. But like I said before, I started that normal block that we called it long before I started posting videos. So I think I looked back at it the other day. I think I went, let me see, just one more time with it. Oh, okay. So that block lasted for technically 10 weeks. So didn't even know that even myself. But we did 10 weeks in one block. So kind of thought it was time to switch it up. We made a ton of progress, I thought. And I kind of feel like the things that I said, maybe even now, I might be contradicting a lot of them. And in hindsight, I probably for sure am. But I wanted to have a goal, and I wanted to have a better goal than I'm going to max out at the end of May, and I wanted to have a longer term goal, and I wanted to have something that really was going to force me, was just going to force me to like move in a better way. So this is something that's the best thing I could think to do, was to commit to a meet. So a buddy of mine is also competing in the meet. He will be competing on a different side of the meet. So, but we should be able to compete together. We should be in the same weight class by that time. So I'm currently sitting at like 198 weight class. I'd like to push to like the 220s. But we'll see kind of how that goes. We'll see how my diet goes, make some changes here and there, but oh man. All right. Whew. I think the worst of this is going to be squat. I think having to do sets of 8 on squat are just going to be absolutely killer. Just mind numbing. But man, all right. Well, one more set of that. RPA from the first set to the second set definitely went to the roof, but perfect, exactly what we need. But yeah, I don't know. I sat down for a while and made this program, so I think now of course I have a lot of confidence in what I've came up with. Spent hours making it, really thinking about it, really mapping things out. So, and the way that I did it too, is I kind of wrote everything out roughly. You know, and I wrote myself different options. I wrote myself different days of the week to train. I wrote myself down, you know, training Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, like stuff like that, you know, or, you know, trading Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday. Like, I laid it out in such a way that, or at least I tried to lay it out in such a way that like I had a ton of options to where I could kind of go through and decide what was best. And then within that, when I picked the dates that would work, like the days of the week, and picked that having one day on the weekend that I could fluctuate between, putting my rest day in the middle of the week to fluctuate, and to allow myself to not work out more than 3 days in a week in a row. So Um, Doing that definitely helped a ton to like start it. And that was most of the work, was figuring that out. And then just structuring what days. Once I figured out it was Saturday or Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday workouts. It was really easy past that point to figure out what the dates were, or what the training days were gonna be. So, I already knew I was gonna put my main lower on the weekend day. I want to be able to do that midway through a day instead of in the mornings. I want to be able to get some food into me, to get woken up, to get loose, limber, stuff like that. So I did that intentionally, and I wanted to put my main bench day directly after my main lower day. In the past, I've flip-flopped between before and after. For me personally, it doesn't seem to affect anything for me to do either. So hitting heavier stuff on my bench day and then the next day coming in to squat and deadlift doesn't really have too much of an impact. I've never really seen anything that's been of impact, because then switching it to do my main lower and then like a main upper did not have any effect or change on either of the lifts. So I still hit the same numbers, I still felt the same. I did not come in more fatigued, less fatigued. I didn't feel looser, limber, less pain here or there. Everything felt the same. So, but I like having my main stuff at the beginning of the week. So I knew that had to fall into Monday. Then at that point, we have 3 training days left. We have another bench day we need to do. We have another lower that we need to do. And we have 1 to 2 more times that I want to just bench within that. So after that point, pretty easy. We go from lower to upper, so we just went to lower. We had a day off, so went to lower. And I knew that like coming back in between picking Thursday and Friday, I knew that I'm going to squat and deadlift on either Saturday or Sunday. So I don't want to squat before that. I want to push my secondary squats and deadlifts further up in the week. I would rather be fatigued for my secondary days than to be fatigued from my secondaries to my main lifts. So it's really easy past that. You're basically just picking what do you want to do? So I know that I didn't want to have 3 upper days, like focus upper days. I would have much rather had 3 lower days. And done one is just more my secondary squat, and the other one's my secondary deadlift. I would have much rather done that and had 2 upper days and 2 bench during my secondary deadlift and my secondary squat days. It's kind of like what I came up with. Now, the one thing that I will say after we hit the set pertains to those training days when it comes to this program. Ugh. Whew. That's water. Now, the one critique already that I'm not skeptical of, but I want to remain mindful of is how well does it work to technically on paper have 2 upper days and to have 3 lowers. So typically that's going to be the opposite of what most people are going to recommend. Most of the time, and even in my own programming, in my own ventures, in other people's programs, my own, typically it's 3 uppers with either 2 or 3 lower days. So, and honestly, a lot of times there's 3 lowers. It's mostly a main squat with deadlift, a main or a secondary squat, and then a third squat with a secondary deadlift. So a lot of it that I've done, at least through the years, had really good success with, has been benching 3 to 4 times a week, squatting 2 to 3 times, deadlifting 1 to 2 times per week. So this is kind of still fits doing frequency wise. Right now I'm going to be benching 4 times a week. I'm going to be squatting twice a week, and I'm going to be deadlifting twice a week. But having like 3 lower days in a week and technically only having 2 upper days in a week, to me, sounds great on paper, but I'm gonna have to see how this kind of plays out. That's the one piece of me that has like any bit of resistance about the program or second thoughts about it, or and what I want to do is just take this whole block, take these 4 weeks to see. So if my body can hold up for 4 weeks like this, I think this might be a pretty good approach to it. Now, I already anticipate that when we get closer to the meet, when we get into month 4 and month 5, that I'm going to have to take a day completely out and only do 4 days. So I'm going to do 2 lowers and 2 uppers. That's my full intentions already. I'm aware of that. Now the thing is for right now, do I keep in having 2 uppers and 3 lowers for now, or at some point will it become very clear and evident that what I need to do is structure things differently, or maybe it does work, but what it needs to be is I need to go back to a main lower that has a comp squat and comp deadlift, having a secondary squat, and then having a third squat with a secondary deadlift, and that's it. So that's kind of something I've already taken note of, and I just want to be mindful of. Now, I don't want to use this as like a thing to like, sorry, I'm trying to read my thing. I don't want to use this as something to start like already having like a negative thought about the program. That's not the point of this thoughts. It's not the point of the comments right now. It's not to be like, well, I already think this isn't going to work. Like, no, I actually have full faith in this program. I do have full faith that this is going to work. I've never quite given it like fully this style approach of having it like this, because even though I do have only 2 upper days, I only have 2 upper days, but that's the focus. I'm still benching the other 2 days. I'm still benching on my secondary squat. I'm still benching on my secondary deadlift. So technically, I'm still hitting upper body 4 times per week. So yeah, I think that on paper, it looks great. And in my head, it looks great. Now, like I said, I see and want to be mindful that, like, the wheels just might fall off the bus is the thing. I want to be mindful that, like, there's a high chance that, like, by doing this, I create so much fatigue lower body-wise that my main days are, kind of disrupted. But honestly, if I think about it, how most people structure their stuff is going to be having a main deadlift, a main squat, and then the third lower day is going to be their secondary deadlift and their secondary squats are put together. I'm doing the opposite. I've always had better luck going into deadlift, coming in a little sore, a little beat up. So it seems for some reason that the fresher that I come into it, the worse my deadlift is. I'm a lot stiffer. I don't seem to be able to pull right. Sometimes I feel like the fatigue that I can get from one workout is easier to manage during the workout than it is days later, if that makes sense. So, and I never really had good luck spacing it out. Like, I've never had good luck knowing personally, like, when I should be, like, you know, when to space things out. When do I put, or where do I put my, my main squat compared to my main deadlift? If I'm splitting up between days. And then where's my main bench fit into that, you know? Do I put my main bench with my squats in, or with my deadlift? Do I space everything out kind of like 2-ish days apart? So then, am I constantly in a state of fatigue from one lift to the next, and the next, and the next? I don't know. Just always had better luck with that. I've seen a couple people talk about that. I've seen actually, probably what the majority of what I've actually seen is main squat, secondary deadlift. Main deadlift, secondary squat. And those are just split between 2 different days. But I don't want my main focus to be secondary squatting or secondary deadlifting, as opposed to my main lifts. But I feel like load-wise, my secondary movements are just easier to manage the load with. So if I'm going to put more focus when it comes to like how fresh do I feel like I should probably lean more towards that in a way. I don't know how to articulate it right for some reason, but all right. Man, we just got a lot of set of 10s, to be honest with you. Just a lot. 10s on bench, 10s on incline. We're gonna do Smith machine bench after this, 10s. Dumbbell bench, or dumbbell flies and throws. 10s. It's a lot of volume. But it's alright, it's what we want. Yeah, I don't know. That's the one thing in the back of my head I need to be mindful of. And I don't want to be negative about. Yeah, I don't want to be negative about how the training is going to go with that. Like, I don't want to be pessimistic about it, thinking it's not going to work, but I need to be mindful of the fact of, like, when I start to see the signs that, like, maybe the lower is just too much, you know, when it starts affecting itself. When I got through my main day. Now we're on week like 3. I got through main day, I got through my secondary squat, and my secondary deadlift just is not there because I'm so fatigued from everything prior. Then yeah, maybe it's time to you know, look back, sit down and look back and go through things, and go, okay, well, maybe I need to restructure this and this and this, and you know, so, and kind of go from there. So I just need to be mindful of what we're doing here. The same way that, like, when we made the first block, the normal block, I had to be mindful of signs that, like, oh, I wasn't benching enough. I had to be mindful of that. I had to be mindful of, am I getting enough stimulus out of this? I had to be mindful of my, you know, timing and stuff like that. Am I taking too long between main movements and stuff like that? So just want to be mindful of the fact that, like, there's a chance that having 3 lowers and technically 2 uppers, it might be a mistake. But now, like I said, I did sprinkle in the 2 bench day, secondary, like, almost like third and fourth movement benches into these days to give myself to give myself volume in those lifts as well. So, and no matter what, I need to bench 3 to 4 times a week. The only thing, if I did change it, and it wasn't the fact that I just took the 4th or the 5th day out, and I kept 5 days and did 2 lower days, and I did a third. That's all I would do. I just added more bench volume, and bench 3 times a week. But instead, I thought that what I can do is I can bench 4 times a week and hammer out my upper body 2 times within that week, if that makes sense. So. All right. Well, pretty good sign to take weight off. All right, well, I almost stopped at 8. Decided to go to 10. In my head, after hitting 10, I was like, yeah, I need to go down in weight. And then after missing the rack like that, yeah, we're gonna go down. Because I still want to keep the RP the same. I still want to hit RP like 8. So, all right, well, we're there. But, anyways, through these training days too, what you'll see is that I just combined a lot of my days. What I did was I just combined a lot of, or not combined, but I just used a lot of the days from the what we were doing prior to, and we're using for now. So now the only thing I did get rid of is I don't have back days. I don't have no specific days just for back. The closest I get to it is my secondary deadlift day. My secondary deadlift day is more back focused in training. So it's a lot of deadlifting. Been doing some like rows, stuff like that. So I don't have any like program like lat pull downs, pull ups, stuff like that anymore. Instead, what I did was I added a lot of those into my warm up. So now instead, when I warm up for any day, for every day, I'm doing lat pull downs. I'm doing some pull ups first, stuff like that, and get the volume in that way. Like I do think there's something to be said about general volume when it comes to muscle growth. Especially when it comes to certain muscle groups. And I'm not in any way a scientist. I did not go to school for this. I'm not a doctor. I've absolutely, in the grand scheme of things, I have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about. But when I think about jobs that people have, and I think about some guys being more muscular based on their jobs. A guy running a jackhammer all day is not a skinny twig. And if you look at him, he's built all upper body. He's built as if he's like a big bencher because he's holding a jackhammer here all day, and he has to control that. Big forearms, big arms, big shoulders, big chest, big upper back, traps, stuff like that. Same thing, like a guy with like a blacksmith swinging a hammer is gonna have some pretty good sized shoulders, forearms, like using these like movements, using these muscles at high volumes every single day does a lot. It just does. So if you're at any type of like blue collar job, you're in manufacturing and you have repetitive tasks, you have something you just do a lot. I feel like you're more inclined to be built that way. So in my head, at least, and when I think about like things that like Louis Simmons has said, exposing muscles to things like that can kind of, in my way, be the stimulus and be the growth that I'm looking for. Now, am I gonna rely on my warm ups with dumbbells when I do RDLs and squats and stuff like that to be like my leg volume for the week? No. But will it help to do some pull-ups, some lat pull-downs, get my lats warmed up, make sure I got like a tiny bit of a pump in them? Is that gonna help growth? I think so. I think it'll help a ton. Personally, I've seen myself have growth with that too. I've seen myself focus and kind of double down on having my warm-ups be more like that. But yeah, I think that I think I've had myself I think I've seen myself have growth in that way. I've had myself do lat pull downs through the week as a warm up, and it's worked extremely well. Having that muscle be exposed like day in and day out to volume like that, I think it's huge. I think that's big. I think it stimulates a good amount of growth. I think it stimulates exactly, what I'm looking for, especially in those muscles and those muscle groups. I think certain muscles respond to higher reps, more sets, more frequency, all around, just more volume in any way that you can structure it, I think a lot of muscle groups do really well with that, obviously. I think just a lot of muscles do really well getting hit just over and over and over again. Calves, I've heard a lot of people talk about calves. Calf training needs to be frequent, higher volume, a lot of sets, reps, whatever. I've heard people say that. Forearms, triceps, biceps can be hit multiple times throughout the week. So I think everybody's different, don't get me wrong. I know somebody's gonna out there and be like, well, I can only hit arms one time a week, or whatever. For the majority of people, I think hitting triceps, biceps, and stuff like that multiple times throughout the week is quite all right, and I would almost lean more towards it. Hitting calves multiple times a week, I would almost lean more towards it, personally. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. That's how I think about it. So. Not too bad. This machine needs a little oil dip. right, let's try her again. Oh my Lord. Who would have thought that's what we needed? Whew. All right. Well, yeah, I said it before, but if you ever watched any of my other videos, a lot of what we're doing now is things that I've already done. You know, days that I've already had. You know, having a main pec focus day, more tricep focus day, more bench volume focus day, stuff like that. So we kind of put a lot of those things together, or just kind of did pretty much the same day. So what I did was I basically combined my main movement and just added it to my main pec day. That's pretty much it, man. I'm gonna do, you know, like a main bench. Then what I used to do for my main pec day was incline, guillotine press, dumbbell flies, stuff like that. The only thing I really did was I just added in my main bench. So I want to focus really this and next block on just building pecs, just building my pecs up, building my pecs up, building my pecs up, and then the next two blocks, more double down on triceps probably, while still hitting a bunch of pecs. So in the grand scheme of things, probably the last two blocks are just going to be a good bit of everything. So and obviously as we get closer to competition, I'm gonna get more and more specific. So I'll take things out like the guillotine press, the incline, and I'll do things more like you know, comp bench. Maybe do add my Larson in that day, and instead of doing like a guillotine press, I'll just do like a normal Smith machine bench. But just want to get more specific the closer we get to competition. Instead of doing a good range of things and different exercises and this and that. So. But again, you know, some of these movements, like, they're not inherently dangerous, and you know, I don't think we need to be afraid of them. That's not at all what we're gonna do here. But you know, some of these movements just aren't worth any type of risk as we get closer to the meet. You know, if there is any risk there, it's definitely just not going to be worth it to push, you know? It ain't going to be worth it to push those movements as we get closer to the meet, so. Whew, wow, all right. So we're basically gonna do, honestly, what we did, what was that, Tuesday? Something like that. Yeah, we're basically just gonna do our pec day, just with main movements instead. Man, all right. But yeah, I think that I think I give myself a good goal, something to strive for, something to work towards, something more set. Is going to be nothing but positive for it. So I am decently competitive. So giving myself something to attack, I think, is exactly like what I need. Just in general. So I think that giving myself something to really focus, work towards, sit down, be patient is the biggest thing too. Instead of trying to see like where my progression's at all the time, normally during meet preps, I do a lot better in general because it forces me to back off what I need to and push in other ways. So, I realized just through the years and more that I really need structure in some capacity. It's pretty much what it boils down to. I need structure when it comes to how often I train, what I'm training, how often am I taking heavy sets, heavy singles, stuff like that. So, I think that I really need that in order to grow. Is just really what it comes down to. I really need something to tell me kind of what I need to be focusing on that isn't a bunch of thoughts in my head in a way. So I do read a lot about powerlifting, consume a lot of content about powerlifting. I'm always looking up things that people are saying, ways they're doing things and this and that, whatever, to better grow myself as a lifter. So I think that giving myself exact things, like exact dates to hit and stuff like that, I think it is going to be nothing but like a positive. Too, if this allows me the ability to still do what movements I want to do now, and then as we get closer to the competition, then to kind of back off, then to be able to go, okay, well now I need to do this, now I need to focus on this, now I need, that's kind of where we're at with it. So, man. Tell you what, starting this off with higher volume is just kicking me right in the butt, dude. Whew. All right, well, we're gonna do one more set of this, and that's pretty. I think that's really all I got really for the training day. So a lot of these days are really quick, easy, fast. Well, at least on paper when you look at it. So it's about 4 or 5 movements depending on how you look at it. So it's a lot of, most of these days are going to have 3 bigger movements and then 2 and then accessories, which 2 of them, but they're going to be supersetted. So that's kind of how I want to structure things. It's still the same as it was before. So a lot of competition lifts. And then we're going to do 1 or 2 other compound lifts that are going to become closer and closer to isolation and farther away from specificity and more and less comp focus. So like we're gonna do a comp bench, we're gonna do an incline bench. Still the same grip as comp, pretty much same movement, just at an incline, switches things up, but it's a little different. And then doing like a guillotine press on the Smith machine, we're adding different layers. We're taking load off, we're adding different stimulus, we're getting less specific. And then we're gonna eventually get from that to like what we are now, more isolation movements, bodybuilding movements, stuff like that. So I always try to structure it through to not have like powerlifting and then bodybuilding, like they're not too separate. Personally, in my head it works better to have it like slowly like integrate itself to where I get more, it's powerlifting, absolute powerlifting with like a bit of bodybuilding. And it's like on the middle, like this could classify as either one can use the group, and then it's gonna go more into just bodybuilding movements. So yeah, that's kind of how. Whew. All right. Well, man, yeah. Like I said, we're 131 days out. We're just under 19 weeks. 19 weeks was on Sunday, or Saturday, sorry. So we're right there. We're pretty much gonna push our hardest to get to the meet and to train to where we need to be and get our numbers where they need to be at. So I looked this morning and kind of where I'm at with some of my numbers, compared. There's a whiteboard back there that has like a lot of my numbers on and stuff. So I'm looking for bench. The most I've done for 10 is 240. We just did 205 for 10. And I have 3 more weeks to kind of progress this. So, and I'm not saying that like I need to make sure that I'm hitting that. And I'm not gonna push to the detriment of training the further blocks to get to that. But if I can land there better or just close to that, I know that I'm on a good path because I know that like I can kind of take that momentum and kind of roll with it, So that's kind of where I'm at. So I don't think we're too far off right now. We're gonna get the rest of this program or block done. We're gonna see. We'll sit down week to week and kind of go over things. But as of today, that's pretty much all I got. So that's pretty much I think the end of this video. So just gonna cut off.